Of course, one of the first things that you will be taught when you join any IT recruitment organization is the importance of the in-house database. This is the candidate database. But it's worth bearing in mind that you realize your database is not the entire candidate pool. Do understand that when you're in IT recruitment, you are embarking on a career in networking, whether it's through LinkedIn, word of mouth, handing out a business card in a bar, or just dropping a hint about what you do in casual conversation. That is the sort of mentality you should have on an ongoing basis. Because the truth is, what you might think of as the active candidate pool, i.e. people who respond to your job adverts or send in CVs to be put onto your database, they actually only represent around 15% of the labor force. Now, these people who apply to the job adverts that you're going to put out from your organization or who send in CVs to be put onto your database, they aren't necessarily the best candidates for your key roles. These are people who simply, by definition, happen to be free at the moment and are currently looking for work. So in today's candidate-driven market, and remember that's one where the candidates are thin on the ground, there's a lot of skill sets that are not easy to find, and candidates hold the power. So in today's candidate-driven market, the game has changed, and it's a search mentality that is really needed. What I mean by that is a networking mentality. Very often, you should have at the back of your mind the idea that you should be sourcing jobs for the good people you've found and not just people for the jobs that have just come in. If you have that in mind, you will always be attuned to the good candidates that are coming in and not necessarily be myopically focused on individual jobs. One of the best ways of gaining success within the IT recruitment industry is to actually market out excellent candidate CVs, and you'll be surprised at the number of times jobs are created for exceptional candidates. So, there is an additional candidate pool of around 20% more in the workforce who are actually classed as semi-active or semi-passive candidates. Now, these people are amazingly talented and sought after, but they are currently in work. They're in work not necessarily because they are blissfully happy, but because they haven't got their act together in terms of going out on that job hunting spree. Their CV might not be ready, they just haven't felt the urge to take that leap, and they're certainly not on your database. But these are people, if somebody contacted them and sold them a real blinder of a job, they would be all over it. So IT recruitment is actually a lead generating environment. I want you to get into the habit of always asking simple questions that will lead to tremendous results. If you have a lead generation mindset in place, you will succeed in IT recruitment all the time. And here are a few questions that I always used to use that allowed me to, as an aside, generate more names and leads, which helped me place in the IT recruitment industry. First one, and here's a phrase I used to use. By the way, we're always looking for excellent candidates like yourself, because the client will consider more than one hire for this. Do you know of any friends or colleagues who might also be interested in this sort of role? If they don't have their CV together, no problem, we can have a quick chat on the phone. Now, a phrase like that dropped at the end of any conversation will very often elicit another name and another response that will open up a new channel of investigation for you. Another phrase is, are there any colleagues from the past who you might want to work with again? Now, a simple phrase like that makes people think about things and actually will very often come out with names or company names who they are comfortable with but haven't been represented to for a long time, and you can simply go back and it might be one of the easiest placements you've ever made. Another way to paraphrase that is, do you know of any high-profile projects in your sector that you'd like me to represent you into? And what that means in the candidate community is that they are aware of lots of projects within particular technology areas and sectors that are famous within that community, but which you may not be aware of. And they may be prestigious projects to work with, but a candidate simply just wants someone to actually represent them into there. And it could be a very easy way to take your candidate and open up a conversation within that project. At the very least, you'll pick up high profile terminology that is good to use with clients and candidates. You get the idea. Basically, always have lead generation at the back of your mind. Good leads aren't always active or apparent, they need to be wooed. And you need to get into the habit of always having phrases within the conversation that will encourage more and more names to come out so that you can actually cast your net wider.